Okay, yeah, it should be alive now. Actually, that music kind of came in at the right time for that. So, yeah, I'm live and everything. Don't have viewer count on because I kind of wanted to do a short little discussion video about Hero and a lot of stuff related to Hero, and also sort of some of the things that I think about Hero by playing the character, because I think that's probably one of the best ways to at least show something like that. So, yeah, I guess let's go ahead and get into it. So, the hero has recently become a pretty controversial character in the span of a few weeks, as he hasn't been released for very long. And I'm gonna kind of warm up in the background here. I am going to be doing a viewer battles or something like that after the stream, I believe. So I might not play Smash actually. I really don't know what my plans are just yet. But sorry for the late stream, by the way. Also, just want to get that out of the way. I was reconnecting with someone that I haven't spoken to in a while, and we played a few games of Roblox actually together. It was really weird, but that's the game that we could play because I didn't have Xbox Live Gold at the time, and they didn't really have any games that I could cross-play with the Switch, or at least I still don't have Xbox Live Gold. So we kind of just ended up playing Roblox and having fun there. I know that seems like a really weird game, but we used to play it all the time a few years ago. But yeah, now into hero stuff. So the hero has recently been banned from a tournament in Southern Australia. If you don't know this, whenever the hero released, a lot of players said that he should be banned, and some top players have also said hero should be banned, and have been advocates for the banning of hero, and things like that. So, it's definitely been a pretty large discussion for a while now, although I really haven't touched on it that much. I did a viewer battle where I had an arena title Don't Ban Hero or something like that, and kind of just had things along those lines, little references to my thoughts on the character, like I don't think that Hero should be banned, things like that, and I kind of want to address some of those thoughts and things like that in this stream video. I don't expect this video to be long, but it could potentially be, because I will be showing some of the things that I don't like about Hero, and then some things I do like about the character. And some of my reasonings behind my stance on whether he should be banned or not, and then things like that. So, yeah, Hero was banned in Southern Australia from participating in tournaments, for now at least. So, due to the overabundance of RNG in his moveset, which I do agree that he does have a lot of RNG in his moveset. It's really apparent in pretty much everything that he can do. So, for example, you have critical hits. I don't know if I'll be able to get one of these. It's 1 out of 8 chance, so yeah, there we go. So, a critical hit. As you can see, a briefly charged forward smash normally does 21.6, 22 there, percent with stealth moves turned off, whereas a critical hit will do double that at around 43.4, and yes, that was a pretty lucky thing there. This will be completely unedited, and it's also not scripted, so I might backtrack on a few things and try to kind of change my mind as I'm speaking. But I do kind of have a few things to say, because I have been thinking about this for a while. So, yeah, so you've got critical hits that have a 1 in 8 chance of happening on any of Hero's smash attacks, including forward smash, up smash, and down smash. So, if you don't know, critical hits can actually trade with hits that are regular. So, like, let's say if Captain Falcon down aired me and I up smashed him at the same time. Well, I could still get a critical hit for hitting him with the up smash and getting a crit, and it would actually be a very favorable trade for me. I would just be able to eliminate his stock pretty easily, just with a critical hit, due to the increased damage output. So, if I didn't even kill him, then he'd be at a relatively high percent, like around 80% or something, after you've comboed someone into a crit, or I would assume that you would combo into a crit at least. I don't expect a lot of people just to go for a random forward smash at all times, or at least you have like somewhat of an idea of your opponent's habits and then you read into a forward smash. But Hero can actually combo up air into a forward smash, and this can kill at 30 if it crits, and it will be a true combo at the time. Or at least against Captain Falcon, that was something I found out around the time that Hero released. So, yeah, you've got critical hits, then you've also got your down special, which opens up this little pop-up menu, and then you can decide which move out of a list of 4 that you want to pick. The moves themselves are entirely random, and a list of around 20 something options. I think it's like 21, 22 options. I am not entirely sure. Each of these moves cost MP. So, as you can see, Hero has a little blue bar that max out at 100 MP, and then each time that you use a certain move, it will use a small amount of that MP. So, or depending on the actual cost, you can see the MP cost at the bottom right of the menu there. I don't know if it's too small or not for you to see it, but it's around where Captain Falcon's face model is. And that will tell you how much MP you actually used while activating that move. So, or ability in the case of Bounce, Accelerate, Psych Up, and a few others. So, yeah, each time that you open up that down special menu, you can cancel it by hitting shield, or if you're in the air, you can cancel it by air dodging or jumping. You can also cancel it on the ground by jumping. And then you can also change the direction of your input by side specialing. I mean, not by side special, but by moving the C-stick in the opposite direction you're facing if you want to do it behind you. You can also just open up the menu behind you like that by hitting A, which is what I normally do, is just hit A, but if I go backwards, and I usually will go behind. And as you can see, I'm just activating the first menu option, and so far it has been mostly different every time. So, see, now I've got a Super Mushroom, and I've got all of these different moves happening, and I'm also out of MP. So, yeah, you've got the moves that you can actually select that are random and critical hits so far. Then you also have certain moves that have random critical effects that you can, are not critical effects, random effects that you can get, like Hocus Pocus has a small amount, or not small, but like around 20 different outcomes, I think. It might be a bit lower, I might be getting that confused with the actual menu itself, but has around, or it has a decent amount of options, I guess, is what I should say. For you to choose on, some of them are beneficial and some of them are harmful to Hero. Hocus Pocus itself is pretty rare to find in the menu. Each ability that you get kind of has a small chance of appearing itself, and certain factors do make it more or less common. For example, I've heard that if you're around off stage, then you will most likely get Zoom as one of your menu options most of the time, although you won't always. So, that's something that is both a positive and negative thing to Hero, because Zoom allows Hero to get out of disadvantage for free, basically. You can just use it, and then you instantly teleport somewhere on stage in the air, and then you can fast fall there, you can do an aerial, you can jump if you have a jump, and you can air dodge if you have an air dodge as well, and then land on the ground, and then resume the game back in neutral pretty much, or potentially in advantage state, depending on your character's disadvantage state. Because if they try to edgeguard you, and they have a weaker disadvantage state that takes a while to get out of, for example, like Fox or Olimar, and you just zoom out of there, now you can actually get them at the ledge, and you're on stage, so the roles have kind of reversed, where Hero is now an advantage, and the Fox or Olimar, for example, they have kind of slow recovery, so I just use them as an example. They are now in somewhat of a disadvantage state due to being off stage and being able to be hit by Hero's moves. Hero has a lot more options than they do. They can, at ledge, you can pretty much like just jump, roll, all of the normal ledge get up options, which Hero does have multiple different ways to cover. And then I'm pretty sure that covers all of Hero's RNG there. It's just you can get random moves selected out of the menu. They each have a different rate of appearing, and then that rate can change depending on where hero is. Hocus Pocus is one of the moves that you can select, and it has a few random effects, some positive and some negative for hero. Some can actually just activate spells for hero, like Accelerate, for example. Like, if you just get a Hocus Pocus, I believe it has around a 5% chance of appearing in the menu, then, it can give you any one of the spells that you have. It can give you, like, an Invincibility Star, Invisibility, or a Super Mushroom which turns you large and makes your knockback a bit stronger. It can give you that temporarily for a few seconds, and it can also give you things like Poison, a flower on your head which does continuous damage over time. I believe Poison does a bit more and a bit faster, so it'll do like 11%, whereas the flower will do like 1%. Per like damage output of the flower. I don't know the damage like rate, so like how many times you're gonna get hit per second. But like if it was 1 second for each, Poison would do 11 every second, and flower would do 1. So Poison's a bit worse. It can also put you to sleep, and a few other negative effects. But they just have a random chance of appearing. I believe Hocus Pocus actually has a higher chance of giving you a negative effect than a positive. As you can see, I used Hocus Pocus there and was able to get Zoom. But it can also do things like give you Kamikaze, which I believe is the rarest menu option. I don't even think I've seen it so far in this option, which will instantly kill hero, sorry. You can see here. And it does a large amount of damage to your opponent, and you can also freeze in the air with it, so you can use it to edgeguard your opponent as well. It will kill hero first, but it will be able to kill opponents pretty easily, as it does a tremendous amount of damage and knockback due to being a self-KOing move. So yeah, that's kind of just the Heroes RNG, like crits, menu, Hocus Pocus, and yeah, so now we can get into other things about the hero that I don't really think are somewhat balanced. So you've got things like his side special, for example. I will use this. So side special in the lower charges, it's not that powerful. The mid charge, which is this hit here, is pretty good because it has a large amount of range, and it does about 24%. You can see there. So you can kind of just use it to space opponents pretty quickly, and it doesn't really use that much MP, actually. The first hit is a bit of a quick hit. It does a bit less damage, costs a bit less MP as well because of this, and it's a bit faster because you don't have to wait for the charge time, but it also has a bit less range and damage output. So it does have negatives and positive effects. And then you have the fully charged side special, which gives you super armor, a very large hitbox, about 45% worth of damage, a lightning bolt above your head to cover enemies that have tried to jump over you, tons of shield pressure, and a very large ability to end stocks quickly. What do I mean by ending stocks quickly? So as you can see, it got very close to killing there. I'm not sure exactly what percent this killed Falcon at. But as you can see, at 45, it was able to end his stock instantly. And it has a very short charge time. So, hero can kind of just, like, charge it in the air, for example, if you're falling down, and that might confuse opponents on the actual charge time of the move, and things like that. But the move itself does a large amount of damage. It covers a pretty large area around here. As you can see, I was able to hit Falcon from a pretty decent distance. Like, he was all the way over there, and I was about center stage, and was able to get him. So it has a very large hitbox. The negatives of this move are that it can be avoided if you're out of the range, and it also uses a lot of MP really quickly, so if you use it multiple times in a row, you might not have enough MP to be able to recover. Although if you use it too much and then you try to use it again, you won't be able to summon the lightning bolt due to a lack of MP. Your MP also does not recharge during this animation. Same thing for if you pull up the menu, or if you are charging fire, or your like neutral special fire move. I don't really know the name of it off the top of my head. But yeah, this move is very good. It's a heavily underrated move. A lot of the other powerful moves in Smash, like a Falcon Punch, for example, have a lot of pros and cons. So basically, Falcon Punch will be able to kill you pretty quickly. So here, let me just show you what a Falcon Punch looks like, in case you don't know. It's a pretty famous move in Smash. So as you can see, it was able to do about 30%. So it does a decent amount of damage. If it is B reverse, which is where you kind of turn around as soon as you hit the B button, as you can see there, Hero was facing the opposite way, and then I was able to turn around pretty quickly just by hitting B and then inputting in the opposite direction pretty much as soon as I hit B. Kept messing it up there, but there's an example. It was able to turn me around, so you can just use this on any move in the game, but you just have to make sure that you do fast enough. You can do things like down special and stuff and turn yourself around while you're in the start of the moves animation, so I'm not particularly good at down special, B reverses, but things like neutral special are a bit easier to learn, although it does require a bit of time and practice. But yeah, back to the actual Falcon Punch. It has a very limited amount of range, and has a lot of startup. Captain Falcon is completely vulnerable during the startup of the animation, and also the ending line of the animation, so he can be hit at any time during it, as long as the Falcon pretty much is not on the screen. As you can see, it kind of makes a Fire Falcon there. As long as you don't see that, then you can approach him. But if that is there, then you will get hit. This move kills pretty quickly, as the startup and the amount of vulnerability that Falcon is in during the startup and things like that make it where the move is very risky, but it also rewards you pretty heavily if you do land it. Another limiting factor of this move is that it doesn't have that much range, so as you can see, Falcon can't really hit me from over here, so I can kind of just outspace him. And then I can even punish him with this move if I wanted to do that as an option, because you can punish Captain Falcon with almost any move in the game or whenever he is performing a neutral special, including a Falcon Punch. So if you're in a Falcon Ditto, which where you play as the same character, so you're both Captain Falcon, and Falcon throws out a Falcon Punch, and he misses it, and you're right next to him, then you can throw out a Falcon Punch and punish him with a Falcon Punch. Though you do have to watch out, because if he does get out of the ending lag of the move, then he can shield it. And then you can also shield the move, and it will not be able to break shields if shields are at full. Hero Slide Special cannot break shields at full, but you can see some of the arguments that I'm going to make already just out of me comparing it to Falcon Punch. So, first of all, this move charges a bit faster and does significantly more damage. I'm not entirely sure on the knockback, but this move for sure does more damage at about 45. I believe that was 45.6 there. So, and the Falcon Punch did 30 without it being B reversed. Obviously, B reversing might increase damage and knockback and things like that, but it's not going to make too much of a difference. But yeah, another thing is that you also have a lot of range. You can hit opponents in front of you and behind you when performing this move, and it will pretty much have the same effect, as you can see there. It does a bit less damage and knockback if you do hit them behind you, but it can still kill, and it's still very dangerous. Whereas a Falcon Punch does have a small hitbox behind Captain Falcon that I have seen a few people get hit with, but it is very hard to get. It's like the hitbox of the Falcon Punch is pretty much inside of Captain Falcon's model on the back, so if you like roll into him, for example, then you can still be hit. So like, as you can see, Hero kind of slipped into Falcon whenever he rolled through, and during that time he could have been hit with a Falcon Punch if his invincibility frames from the rule were gone, which they weren't at the time, but you get the idea. So if you like run up towards Falcon and you see Hero's face kind of like clipping through his elbow, and then he throws out a Falcon Punch, then it will be able to connect to Hero due to the hitbox of the move. But yeah, Slide Special, it has very little charge time. It has a lot of kill power. It does a lot of damage, has a lot of range. It does cost a bit of MP, have a bit of startup, although not too much ending lag, actually. Let's see, it's not that bad. Like, I'm sure you could throw out like a forward smash or something, but it's not like you could just run up to Hero after he threw out a Slide Special and then punish with a Falcon Punch. You could punish with a Slide Special of your own if you are playing as Hero due to the fast charging time of the move, but Hero's ending lag would actually allow him to get out of the way of a Falcon Punch unless it was performed during the move's actual animation, whereas with Captain Falcon, you do have to start it a bit during the move's animation, but you have a lot more time to, you have a lot more time where you don't have to start it than with Heroes, because it does charge a bit faster, or it does allow them to perform moves after doing that move due to the low ending lag, a bit faster than with Falcons. And by low, I mean low in comparison to a Falcon Punch or a Warlock Punch from Ganondorf, or something like Super Jump Punch from Luigi, which it does lots of damage and knockback, whereas it has very limited range, and if Luigi misses it, it does like 1%. If you're out of the strong hitboxes, it does 1%, and it also leaves Luigi vulnerable to attack for quite a while due to him flying up in the air and then landing back on the ground, and then that's when the actual ending lag of the move starts. And it also puts him into special fall and things like that. For the grounded variant of Super Jump Punch, I mean. So, yeah, all of those are basically like drawbacks of the more powerful moves in Smash, whereas with Hero, the only drawback that you have is if you miss a move, you can get punished with a forward smash, which if you have Zoom off stage and you're at like 80%, you get forward smash by Falcon over here, then you're off stage, you can most likely pull out Zoom. Whoops, that's the wrong button there. But you will most likely be able to pull out Zoom. If not, you can also get your up special if you have enough MP for it, and then get backstage using that, because that also allows you to recover pretty easily, although you are a bit more vulnerable than with Zoom, obviously. Still covers a pretty good distance of allowing you to get back on stage. If you want to see, like, that is the up special, and then this, whoops, that's not Zoom. But this is Zoom. Zoom just takes you all the way to the top. So, obviously it goes a bit further upwards. Also, I did forget to mention this, but Zoom does not work underneath the stage. So, if you do get the move underneath the stage, then you're kind of out of luck, because you'll just run into the stage. I don't know if I can show this here, because it is a random chance, obviously, if you get the move. But I will try one more time. So yeah, there, as you can see, you do run into the stage if you perform the move off stage underneath it. But yeah, there's just not that many drawbacks to Slide Special as there are for other powerful moves, and I think that that's kind of unfair. And then I also did kind of gloss over the super armor that you do get during the actual animation of startup. So as soon as the lightning bolt hits Hero, as you can see, it hits him a bit before the move starts. That also allows Hero to be able to capture people in the move. If you hit him as soon as that lightning bolt hits him, it's very fast, then he will have super armor, and unless you hit him with a pretty powerful move or grab him, then you won't be able to do much against him. Which, in certain scenarios, like if you're online, for example, you have a lot of lag, you might not be able to react to it fast enough. Another thing that I personally do not like about Hero is some of his down special options that are usually glossed over. So, you have the usual hated options like Accelerate, due to giving Hero lots of increased move speed. It does have a few drawbacks, but I personally don't mind this move due to its drawbacks, and then Hero can't really do much with Accelerate except like recover. Sure, he can perform aerials on stage and things like that, but his aerials are pretty slow, and if he does miss them, then he is very vulnerable, due to their in-lag and things like that. Like, sure, he can approach you and things like that, but his grab options aren't that great. His grab itself is pretty limited in terms of range. So, you might not be able to do much there, although Accelerate can give you a bit of an advantage of just being able to outspeed your opponents and run away from them for a second and maybe restore some of your MP. It's much better to hit your opponent to restore MP, because that gives you a lot of MP very quickly. The moves that I don't really like with Hero are moves like Sizzle or Sizz. I'm not really sure which one is a more powerful variant. I'm pretty sure it's Sizzle, sorry. But as you can see, Sizzle is a very fast projectile, does about 30%, so I don't really agree with the percent and speed matchup, and also the range. As you can see, I was able to hit Falcon from all the way over here. Obviously with Sizz, it's less powerful, so I'm not able to reach him, but with Sizzle, I can reach him pretty easily. And now, after 2 Sizzles, both of which cost 20 MP in case you remember. He was at 100%, and then he ran into my up special, which killed him, due to him not teching it. But, yeah, basically, Sizzle just allows you to get a lot of stage control very quickly, due to the speed of it, and then also, if you get it as one of your earlier options, you'll be able to grab it pretty quickly. Although, obviously it's not there all the time, it does have a pretty high chance of appearing, as it's one of the more common moves for Hero, and it also gives him a lot of stage control, pretty much for free. So then you have Kaboom. Whoops, I just skipped over it there, sorry. That isn't really talked about that much, but I'll try to show it if I do hit it, or Bang. Bang is a weaker variant, so as you can see, you have a pretty small projectile here that just kind of runs over to your opponent and explodes with a very small explosion. Doesn't really do that much knockback or anything. Whereas with Kaboom, it's much faster, it does much more damage and knockback, and the area of effect of the explosion is much larger at the cost of more MP. So, you can see, it's a very powerful move. This is able to just kill opponents pretty easily. It's very similar to Sizzle, although the knockback and damage output of Kaboom are much higher. Or not much higher, but just slightly higher than Sizzle. So it's a bit more powerful, whereas Sizzle is a bit faster. Although Kaboom is pretty fast in its own right, and it's pretty difficult to identify and things like that if Hero's going to use it, because he might have, like... So if you have Sizzle and Kaboom on the same menu, then either option doesn't, or it gives Hero stage control pretty easily. Another move is Clang. If you're playing against a Hero and you use this move, Hero can get Metal Slash and instantly KO you, but if Hero uses this move, it basically just allows him to sit there and stall the match. So, this move hasn't been discussed that much. I don't think this move is too bad, but I've seen it kind of just interrupt characters like Cloud and Joker, where they can just kind of just sit here and camp, basically, with Clang, although it's not a very common option. It's not exactly uncommon or anything like that, but if Hero does get it, then he can just sit here and camp out meters that will, like, that have a charge time, basically. So, not all meters have a charge time. For example, Hero's meter doesn't really charge over time or anything. Like, it kind of does if you use a move, then it will deplete the meter, but you can also just charge it pretty instantly by hitting a powerful move. Depending on the percent that you do to your opponent will give you the MP back. Although, it is actually set. If you're playing in a normal match, it's the amount of percent, so... Like, if I dash attack Falcon and did 15.6%, I'd get 15 MP back, but if I'm playing in Spirits, it would also be 15 MP, even though I might do a bit more, a bit less percent. It is actually a set value, but it's not something that is exactly important in competitive Smash, because competitive Smash is played without Spirits. So, yeah, Clang kind of just interrupts meters, and then you have Magic Burst, which is a common one that's complained about. And this one is pretty bad, so, I did not mean to crit Falcon twice. 3 times. Okay. So, or you know what, I just won't show Falcon off stage for this, so let me just back him up. So let's try to get Magic Burst as an option. Magic Burst is a pretty common option. And you will see why this move is a bit powerful if you have not seen it before. So Magic Burst uses all of your MP. It says 100 here. You don't have to have 100 to activate it. You can have any amount of MP. As long as you have some, you will be able to activate it. And I forgot that that does have a bit of a timer there. So, you can just sit in the menu forever. If you do get the move, then you pretty much get a free edge guard, ledge trap, get free stage control, pretty much anything. Your opponent can interrupt you because it does have a bit of a startup, but it's very small startup. It does a lot of percent. That was a pretty weak hit due to not hitting Falcon before. See, that's 58.5%. It covers a very large amount of the stage. If you're in the middle of the stage, you pretty much cover almost all of the stage. You pretty much only miss the ledge, and just barely with Magic Burst. as you can see here, you barely miss the ledge. But if you do it at the ledge, then you cover all areas around the ledge. And if your opponent's in a disadvantaged situation where they're off stage and you're getting ready to edgeguard them, they cannot make it back to stage. And let me just force my Falcon here to recharge my MP, because I did not mean to fall off stage there. As you can see, it covers completely underneath the stage and a very long amount of offstage. So that basically allows any character that is offstage to be unable to recover, and they will most likely die from the actual explosion due to its high knockback. Even at lower percents, like Falcon's at 45%, so if he gets hit by it, it does 50% and kills pretty easily. But if you're off stage, then you're closer to the blast zone that it's going to knock you towards, so you will be able to die at a lower percent. And characters like Snake, who have really good recovery, Snake actually has an infinite recovery. He is able to blow himself up to get back to stage with down special, because he can actually, or he can perform a down special out of his up special, and then it will reset his up special if he blows himself up with the C4. And then he can tech into the stage, be able to live the explosion, and then return to stage. He is actually unable to recover against Magic Burst due to the amount of knockback it will do. So if he does get hit by it at all, then it will instantly kill him, and then if it hits his up special, he has a very small amount of time to be able to react, because if it hits up special, then you're actually somewhere down here. You have a very small amount of time to blow yourself up, and if you aren't able to blow yourself up in that amount of time, then you will not be able to get back to stage. And most of the time, or at least I've never seen Snake actually have enough time to be able to blow himself up from that scenario. So yeah, I guess just something in general that I don't like about the hero as well, is his forward tilt. So there's going to be a bit of a biased argument, I guess, for forward tilt, but I do main a projectile-based character, Mega Man, in case you're wondering which character that is, and most of his moveset is projectiles if you don't know much about the character. Pretty much like some of his aerials and dash attack are, and down tilt as well, I guess. Those are pretty much his only moves that aren't projectiles. Up tilt, like there's a few others, but those are just some examples that I will mention. So forward tilt blocks all projectiles, and you will just be able to approach Mega Man and characters that are projectile based, like Villager and Isabelle, for example. You will be able to approach them for free using either forward tilt or just standing still and blocking them, which characters like Link were able to stand still and block them, which obviously if you're standing still you can't really move around that much, so zoning characters have a bit of an advantage there, but they just can't do damage to you, but they can zone still. Whereas with forward tilt, you could actually move forward in forward tilt and then continue to move forward, and also if your opponent's zoning like right next to you, they can just swat you away with a forward tilt, and both hits of forward tilt, because it is a two-hit move, are able to block all projectiles. So while you're walking around, you can't block projectiles, but if you walk into a forward tilt, you're able to move a bit forward, and then forward tilt, and then move a bit forward and forward tilt, and then you will get closer to your opponent until you get close enough to be able to either rush in with like a dash attack, or let them safe, or just rush in with a forward tilt. As that is a pretty decent option as well. And as you can see, even if you have a move like Neutral Special fully charged, you can actually approach opponents and then just throw out Neutral Special if you have enough MP to be able to approach them. And basically it just allows Hero to get stage control against zoners for free. You also have Bounce. Bounce does this as well, as it can block all projectiles, and the hero can still move. It is a temporary effect, but it does last a pretty long time, and characters like Mega Man, who have a heavy set of, or like a large amount of moves that are projectile based, and like most of its options, you're going to have to use projectiles in order to like operate as a character. Like, so if you want to get off stage, for example, if you want to edge guard, if you want to approach, if you want to back away from your opponent and retreat, 90% of the first things you're going to try to do as Mega Man is use a projectile, and with most projectile characters, I would say, that's going to be an option. If you're a character like Fox who has Neutral B, His lasers don't cause any hit stun or anything, so it's not that useful for backing up because you can't really move around with the laser active and things like that. So obviously it doesn't affect him as much, but characters like Mega Man, who pretty much thrive on projectiles bounce and forward tilt, just completely eliminate the, I guess, like, threat of projectiles for Hero. And then Hero can also kind of just stand still and approach projectile characters in the more traditional shield user mains, like our means like Link's, for example. They've had shields, or I believe there's the only other character that had shields actually. So with Link, for example, he can stand still just like Hero and block projectiles with his shield. There are, of course, ways around this, so if Hero's turned around, obviously, you can hit him, but he can also forward tilt to, so like, you can bait out projectiles and then just forward tilt using the C stick or using the A button in the opposite direction, and then just throw out a forward tilt and be able to block the projectiles. And then also potentially get a punish depending on what type of projectile you use. So if you use, like, Mega Man's forward smash, for example, and then you forward tilt it, then Mega Man has a bit of in-lag due to it being a forward smash, and then you can approach Mega Man for free. Same thing with, like, bounce. And then you might not be able to punish Mega Man directly with, like, an attack from the forward smash, but you will be able to at least gain stage control, which is something that's very important for all zoners, is the ability to have as much stage control as possible, because the more stage control that they have, the less options that their opponent will have, and then that allows them to be able to throw out more projectiles and things like that, with their opponent getting closer and closer to the blast zone. And then when they are off stage, or if they just go into the blast zone, if they're in disadvantage basically, then you can really start to use projectiles to be able to close out stocks. But Hero basically just allows himself to get stage control, and then if zoners actually lose stage control, they have less options, because their options work a lot better with stage control than without it, basically. So it's kind of, like, let's say Mega Man was here, and Falcon was there, like, where he currently is, and Mega Man's backing up. Mega Man still has a lot of options, whereas if Mega Man's, like, here and Falcon's here, they have about the same amount of options, although if Falcon is trying to back up away from Mega Man and Mega Man's here, then he has a lot of options. It's basically like a standard advantage state and disadvantage state, but with projectile characters, if they are in a corner like this, so if they're in the position that Falcon is currently in, they actually have a lot less, or they have a bit of a hard time to get out of the corner due to having projectiles. They can't use any projectiles in the corner, unless they're very quick, and most quick projectiles aren't going to be able to do enough knockback or hit stun to be able to get you out of this corner, basically. Characters like Mega Man just have to rely on reads and things like that, whereas with Hero can actually kind of just stand still and wait for his opponent to throw out an option, and then figure out the optimal punish based off of that without really even having to, like, dodge projectiles. So, like, if Captain Falcon was doing something that Hero's doing to Mega Man, then he has to dodge projectiles. But Hero can just stay still, especially if he has bounce. He can just stay still and wait for his opponent to throw out a move and then be able to punish them off of that. But I guess you're wondering what I think about the ban and things like that. So I don't think the Hero should be banned. Although if a compromise had to be met for the people that want Hero to be banned and the people that don't want Hero to be banned, I would say that they are most likely going to ban his down special from being used. So, down special has the most RNG out of all of Hero's options. Critical hits still happen. 1 out of 8 chance of happening. So, earlier I got 3 critical hits in a row, but that's not something that always happens, and I got a critical hit there. So, they have, you have RNG there, but down special itself uses RNG to be able to determine which moves you get, and then there are moves like, there is Hocus Pocus, which has its own randomness to it as well. So that would eliminate a lot of RNG from Hero, just cutting out down special. Another thing that's been recently brought up in discussion is the language barrier. So if my opponent is from, like Japan or something like that, and then I pull up my menu option, and this is talking about in a tournament, not online. So, if my opponent is from Japan, we're playing local, so we're in the same room, we're both playing against each other. They might not be able to read English, and then I will be able to read English, so I can see what option I'm going to pick, but they can't really tell what option I'm going to pick unless they have like the MP memorized or something like that, which is a bit complicated. So, because all moves have different MP stats, like, I don't really have them memorized off the top of my head, but moves like heal and things like that have very small amounts of MP. Moves like sizzle have larger amounts due to them being a bit more useful. So they could see something like that and then just get ready for, or to dodge. But you can't really dodge all moves the same. Like, if you short hop over sizzle, and it actually ends up being, or what you think is sizzle, and it actually ends up being snooze, then it's much larger, and it will put you to sleep, and then you're going to be punished for something like that. So that's definitely a big issue for that. But currently, I think the hero should see more results. Or people should see more results with the hero before banning him. So like maybe see some more tournament usage of hero. Believe he was used at Super Smash Con, if I heard the right event correctly. That's like the biggest event currently that's had 4.0 available, and he was ranked 49th, somewhere in the 40s range. Like, that was the highest placing that any character that, or any person that played the character got. So, so far he hasn't really done that well in tournaments, but obviously he hasn't been out for that long, so he has a lot of time to get optimized. But I think they should wait until hero has been fully optimized, or there have been ways to counterplay hero. Ways to counterplay hero, before they should consider banning the character as a whole. Maybe like banning down special temporarily might be something that they could throw out. Because I do think the hero will be touched on in the next patch update, and they will most likely make some of his abilities significantly less powerful to like minorly less powerful. So maybe like increasing the cooldown on a lot of his moves, or decreasing knockback on a lot of his moves. Maybe not something significant, but that I feel like that's going to be a change that happens in the next patch. And then maybe making it where some of his weaker moves, like aerials, get a bit faster, so maybe people will rely on using them a bit more. I currently think up air is probably one of his strongest aerials due to being able to combo into forward smash at around 30% on Falcon. So obviously it's not going to work here, but just to give you an example, like you can combo into itself pretty easily. You can combo into like forward air, you can combo into up tilt, up smash, pretty much all of Hero's options on the ground it can combo into, and then some of its options in the air it can combo into. Back air is a bit too much startup, but it has a lot of good uses there, although it's currently underused, I think, due to the down special and things like forward smash. Just throwing up forward smash in general, hoping for a critical hit, because you will have a much, or it's much easier to land something like forward smash or something like bounce, even though that's not a move, it just gives you an ability. It's much easier to do something like that than to try and land a move with a smaller hitbox that could potentially not even work if you mess up the timings or something like that. But I currently think that the hero without down special has a lot of good tools. So if they did ban down special, he would still be a pretty useful character. I don't know what tier he would be in for a tier list or anything like that, but I think he would be a pretty solid pick, because he still has something like neutral special to be able to kind of space, and he's got side special still and things like that. But I've also decided recently to not include hero in the tier list that I make in probably next month, I would say. Because I still need to see some 4.0 tournaments and play the game a lot more to be able to get a good feel for a tier list. I most likely will not be placing hero on the tier list due to a lot of controversial things related to hero. So, like things like him being banned from tournaments, and things like that. So, I just kind of wanted to make this video and stream, because I am streaming this right now, and just playing the game in the background and kind of standing around and talking. I just wanted to make this to kind of address some thoughts about the recent announcement that he has banned in Southern Australian tournaments, and just give some of my thoughts on the character's RNG. But yeah, I'm not pro hero ban or anything like that. I don't think currently any character is too unbalanced to be banned, although I do think there are some aspects of certain characters that are unbalanced. I don't think any specific character has enough like aspects or moves that they are completely unbalanced as a character. So what I mean by that is something like Roy's forward smash not having that much cooldown and being able to kill opponents at 40 might seem a bit unbalanced, but the character itself has a weak recovery, at least vertically and horizontally, and things like that to limit them. So there's checks and balances pretty much for every character, although some characters that do better in tournaments are the ones that have a bit less balance things than, like, they have a bit less cons than pros, basically. And I don't think there's any character that has way too many pros and not enough cons in the game to, like, warrant a ban. But I guess we'll have to see more tournament results. But that's going to be the stream for now. I'm going to try to set up things for viewer battles in a second. Or I might switch games. I don't know what I'm going to stream yet. I just kind of wanted to make this to address hero stuff. And yeah, I guess we'll see everyone in the next stream.